The new Hulu show All's Fair has a compelling concept, fantastic fashion, but the execution is not as fun as it should be. While it looks luxurious, it lacks the emotional depth or the ironic bite of a promising premise set in the world of divorce lawyers. In the first 10 seconds, it's clear that Kim's performance as Allura Grant is lacking the emotional weight of the dialogue in regards to failure and the scene with her and Naomi Watts. It is a flashback where Glenn Close is playing the token woman in a round table of older white men. Women are on the side, disgruntled, rolling their eyes, not fully part of this conversation. Now, at the beginning of the pilot, these older white men are laughing at other people's demise, and by the end of the pilot, we're seeing those same behaviors replicated in the female firm as well. It's just this time they're laughing at the opponents, which are the men. When we first meet their characters, they are aching to leave the firm and ready to set off on their own. They get a blessing from their mentor. They also recruit Niecy Nash, who plays the lead investigator, who's a mom of 3 boys, ready to become a multimillionaire herself. Sarah Paulson, who's also been in tons of Ryan Murphy shows, plays Glenn Close's protege and is absolutely outraged when the 2 other women opt not to bring her along. In fact, in a really unnatural seeming scene, she swipes off all of these items that are on Glenn Close's desk that just feel almost comical, but unintentionally so. She acts like a child throwing a hissy fit and is stuck in this rage, which warrants a response from her boss saying that staying angry is easy, but figuring out who you want to be and how to be it is the work that needs to be done. Sarah Paulson's character self-describes as an ugly duckling. Glenn Close's character recites a quote about how not being beautiful is actually a true blessing because it forces one to develop their inner resources, which is used as both advice and a warning if Sarah Paulson's character wants to be chosen, which inevitably turns the opening scene of the pilot into her origin story as a villain, where she vengefully vows to start her own law firm because she's also eager to escape the shadow of others, escape the patriarchy, and perhaps even escape herself. We then flash forward 10 years where Kim Kardashian's character Allura Grant is dripping in external success in her designer bags and driving in her fancy car to her fancy house, addressing her staff, but it's really her talking to herself. But it's set in a space that feels like we're actually watching an episode of The Kardashians. We're introduced to her husband Chase, and it feels just like an odd pairing. They don't really have a lot of chemistry, and their dinner scene and the dialogue is really forced and cheesy. I mean, there was a moment when he says, "Come to daddy," and like invites her on her lap, and it was so cringe. But there was nothing sexy about that, where it could have been, but it just didn't play off that way. Despite the beautiful setting, gorgeous production design, and wardrobe stylings, pretty appearances can't save an undercooked story, with forced and unbelievable dialogue attempting to be clever and cheeky. It's clear from the trailers that this show was never meant to be a serious drama, but a strong cast should have been enough for a good time. If anything, the show probably takes itself too seriously. These women specialize in divorce cases, which positions them to come out on top, almost vengefully so. It straddles the line of unseriousness in a way that does not feel intentional or self-aware. I get that it's meant to be soapy, but it's generally tonally inconsistent. It could have been way funnier in a way that leans into the outrageousness with an ironic twist. One of the issues is that Kim's performance so closely aligns with her reality that it's hard to separate the two. And this is a show that was built around Kim. I remember watching the episode where Ryan Murphy approaches Kim and is talking about building the show and working on the development, which is why her home life and relationship is a focal point in the pilot. The women take on several cases: a trapped trophy wife turned lesbian, a cheating wife to a cosmetic empire, where the women dealing with the fallouts of these divorces are not necessarily innocent, or arguably deserving of these large payouts. But neither is the concept of being left with nothing after a failed marriage. It's as if All's Fair is parading around as an anti-love story disguised as a boss bitch energy sprinkled with some Gen Z slang, where success comes at the heels of tearing down men who are mistreating the women in their lives, even when those closest to you are set to betray you. Tiana Taylor's character is having an affair with Kim Kardashian's husband. Now, her character is someone that Allura Grant, who's played by Kim, is actually taking under her wing. There were too many emotionally stale and unrealistic moments, like the guy screaming outside of the New York steps, that made me wonder, why did this feel so rushed? Instead, the show is really an ode to designers. It's fashion forward in the best way. The camp is elevated, there's slow-mo car exits, and one-liners like, "From cocktails to cock rings, God, I love my job." that are made to make us clutch our pearls. But it's not sisterhood, it's money as the ultimate motivator, which prevails over morals, where the uber rich screw each other in bitter hatred as the lawyers enjoy the act of winning. They essentially win the main case of the episode through sexual humiliation, blackmail, and bribery. And the women they serve are grateful for saving their lives to the men that they have dedicated theirs to. It's just the reality that the most emotionally in-depth scenes are done with a full face of makeup, with a single tear, and ultimately surface level. Even when things are flipped on Allura Grant's character and she ends up being asked to get a divorce by her husband, who has been cheating on her. Everything is so put together and buttoned up, it's hard to connect with any of the characters. This is a show that is stunning to look at. The fashion is incredible. I love the details of this coat. Everyone has gloves, the coats, the head wraps, the hats, the color schemes. The fashion in and of itself is definitely a character. I love camp, but I feel like if they had leaned into actual humor in a way that was a little bit more laugh out loud style, this would have been more successful. It almost feels as if this show could have been more intentionally outrageous. This is a show that you would watch if you want something that's soapy, fashion forward, as a means of easy viewing. I think if you're watching this, you know what you're signing up for, but manage your expectations.